If you feel pulled between heaven and hell, like you're too much and not enough at the same time, you're not broken. You're carrying what I call the dual angel-demon vibration. This isn't a personality type or spiritual metaphor. It's a rare energetic frequency woven into your soul's blueprint. And if you've never felt like you truly belong anywhere, this video will finally explain why. Today, I'm revealing the 5 unmistakable signs you carry this sacred split, how to master it without destroying yourself, and why the world desperately needs your unique gift. You've always felt witnessed, not in a paranoid way, but like something beyond this physical realm has its awareness focused on you. As a child, you may have spoken to invisible presences or sensed energies that others dismissed as imagination. But here's what makes you different. It wasn't always angelic. Sometimes the presence felt warm and protective, like being wrapped in divine light. Other times it felt like raw, untamed power standing just behind you. Not evil or malicious, but wild and ancient. If you've experienced both the celestial presence and this primal force, you're carrying what I call a dual frequency. The spiritual realm recognizes this rare combination. That's why unseen forces watch you, test you, and sometimes challenge you. Because you're not just a receiver of light, you're designed to balance realms. You possess the capacity for extreme compassion and extreme destruction, depending on your level of consciousness. And this inner duality has probably frightened you at times. You've witnessed how tender your heart can be, crying over strangers' pain, feeling the world's suffering as your own, willing to sacrifice everything to help another soul. But you've also encountered your shadow side, the aspect that awakens when you're deeply betrayed. The part that doesn't just experience anger, it becomes a consuming force. You've felt this power rise within you, and it made you question, am I fundamentally good, or am I dangerous? Here's the mystical truth. You are both, and that's not a character flaw, it's your spiritual function. The angelic aspect within you knows how to lift others from darkness and despair. The demonic aspect knows how to annihilate the darkness itself at its source. Together, these forces create an energetic signature that neither heaven nor hell can ignore or dismiss. You feel equally at home in traditionally sacred spaces like churches or temples, and in what society deems forbidden places, graveyards, underground venues, or wild natural settings. You hold genuine reverence for both prayer and rebellion, for ancient wisdom and revolutionary ideas. Your spiritual bookshelf likely contains both holy scriptures and esoteric grimoires. Your music playlist seamlessly flows from angelic chants to intense, soul-stirring genres. People constantly try to get you to choose a side. But you embody both sides because you carry activation codes for ascension and descent simultaneously. You naturally walk between worlds, existing as a bridge between seemingly opposite realms. This makes you spiritually rare and potentially threatening to systems that require clear categorization and control. You function as a living mirror that reveals what others hide from themselves, often without speaking a single word. People feel magnetically drawn to you and find themselves confessing things they've never shared with anyone. They experience emotional releases in your presence, crying or feeling deeply moved, then suddenly become uncomfortable and pull away, sometimes even projecting their discomfort onto you. Why does this happen? Your energetic field doesn't just offer comfort, it exposes hidden truths. You naturally reflect both the light people desperately desire and the shadow aspects they've been denying or suppressing. This is why relationships in your life tend to be incredibly intense. People either revere you almost to the point of worship, or they fear your presence and avoid deeper connection. Many experience both reactions simultaneously. pause here for a moment. Does this pattern sound familiar in your relationships? If so, leave a comment sharing your experience. You're not alone in this. While most people panic during crisis or chaos, you become unusually calm and centered. When others lose themselves in turbulent situations, you actually feel more alive and present. You naturally step into conflict situations, not to create additional suffering, but to bring clarity and resolution. You're not intimidated by emotional intensity, spiritual uncertainty, or complex moral situations that leave others paralyzed. Your soul was specifically designed to navigate storms, not avoid them. But here's the crucial mystical principle. Chaos cannot be mastered through force or resistance. It can only be transformed through purification. Purified chaos occurs when the demonic aspect within you becomes devotional rather than destructive. Instead of seeking to dominate or control, it seeks to dissolve illusions and false constructs. This inner fire systematically burns away lies, pretenses, and superficial spirituality that avoids authentic transformation. It becomes sacred fire, consuming anything in your life that isn't genuinely aligned with your soul's deepest truth, even when this means losing relationships, identities, or belief systems you thought were permanent. This is why your external life seems to repeatedly fall apart and reconstruct itself. The fire isn't malfunctioning, it's performing its intended spiritual function of continuous purification and renewal. Now that you recognize these signs within yourself, the question becomes, how do you harness this dual vibration without being torn apart by its intensity? The angelic aspect within you serves to anchor divine light into dense, physical reality. It embodies the energy that says, even though I possess the power to destroy, I consciously choose to heal and elevate. This force speaks truth not to wound, but to awaken dormant potential in others. After the storm of purification passes through your life, the angel within rebuilds everything on a more authentic foundation. You don't merely burn away illusions, you illuminate new possibilities. You don't simply expose darkness, you transform it into wisdom and strength. Here's a mystical perspective that might shift everything for you. What if your personal pain and challenges aren't entirely your own? Consider the possibility that your soul volunteered to absorb and transmute unprocessed shadow energy from your ancestral lineage, your family system, perhaps even broader cultural patterns of trauma and dysfunction. You might walk into spaces and immediately feel the emotional heaviness of everyone present. You often find yourself processing emotions and energies that don't originate from your personal experiences. This isn't hypersensitivity or emotional overwhelm. This is energetic alchemy in action. Only a being who possesses both angelic compassion and demonic discernment can hold this level of psychic weight without being completely overwhelmed or destroyed by it. Your dual nature allows you to feel deeply without drowning, to absorb toxicity without becoming toxic, and to transform inherited patterns without perpetuating them. Here's your practical roadmap for mastering this sacred duality. The foundation of integration is stopping the internal war against your own nature. You must cease punishing yourself for your intensity, your anger, your sensuality, your rebellious spirit, or what others have labeled as your madness. These aspects aren't your spiritual failings, they're your untapped gifts. But they only become gifts when you claim ownership of them rather than hiding or suppressing them. The demon within you isn't evil, it's uncompromisingly authentic. It refuses to participate in illusions, pretense, or spiritual bypassing. When you honor this aspect instead of shaming it, it becomes your greatest ally in creating genuine transformation. Your emotional range resembles vast oceans. Your thoughts carry the intensity of lightning strikes. Your mere presence can overwhelm unprepared individuals. This means you must cultivate what I call sacred anchoring, not emotional suppression or control, but conscious channeling. Learn to breathe consciously through your rage rather than expressing it destructively. Practice pausing before delivering cutting words, even when someone deserves them. Train yourself to use your penetrating vision for healing and awakening rather than judgment and criticism. This represents true spiritual maturity, the ability to feel everything fully while choosing your responses from wisdom rather than reactivity. When you reach this level of mastery, you become virtually untouchable. You transform into a sovereign force where divine chaos and divine order merge into one integrated expression. This dual vibration wasn't gifted to you for personal gratification or ego enhancement. It carries a burden of spiritual responsibility. You are what I call a code carrier, a walking transmission of integrated consciousness. This means your very existence creates consequences in the world around you. Every word you speak carries energetic weight. Every relationship you enter becomes a transformational mirror. Every space you occupy undergoes subtle but measurable shifts in frequency. Ask yourself these three essential questions. What aspects of this world do I feel called to amplify and strengthen? What illusions or harmful patterns am I here to help burn away? What new realities do I want to help birth into existence? When you discover honest answers to these questions, something remarkable occurs. The angel and demon aspects within you stop their internal conflict. They align their purposes. They begin working together as a unified force. And when this inner marriage occurs, you become something extraordinarily rare, a soul that has experienced the deepest abyss of human experience and still consciously chooses to embody heaven on earth. Your presence alone carries transformational power, even when you speak no words at all. You naturally emit what I call a catalytic frequency. When you carry balanced angel-demon energies, you become a living mirror that reflects the authentic essence of every soul you encounter. This happens automatically. You cannot turn it off. Some people feel genuinely seen and understood for the first time in years when they're around you. Others become deeply uncomfortable and may even avoid making eye contact, sensing that your presence might reveal truths they're not ready to confront. People frequently project their deepest wounds and unhealed aspects onto you. They might call you manipulative when you're simply being direct and honest. They label you as dangerous when you're merely owning your personal power without apology. The most challenging part of this experience is that sometimes you might internalize their projections, believing their fear-based assessments of your character rather than recognizing them as reflections of their own internal struggles. But here's the mystical truth you must remember. You're not too intense or too much. They're simply not prepared for the fullness of their own reflection in your energetic mirror. You may be that person who creates profound shifts in others through brief but intense encounters, often without realizing the extent of your impact. Sometimes your presence alone becomes the catalyst for someone's spiritual awakening. Your refusal to diminish yourself gives others permission to expand into their full potential. Even your silence can communicate more powerfully than elaborate teachings or lectures. Every person who reacts strongly to you, whether with attraction or avoidance, is providing you with sacred feedback about your own inner landscape. If someone responds to your personal power with fear or hostility, ask yourself, where might I still be afraid of fully owning my own capabilities? If people try to dim your natural radiance, inquire, in what ways am I still making myself smaller to accommodate others' comfort zones? This level of self-inquiry isn't optional for someone carrying a dual vibration. It's absolutely essential for your continued evolution and the refinement of your energetic impact. The more conscious you become of the reflection you provide for others, the more precise and intentional your vibration becomes. You begin responding from wisdom rather than reacting from wounds. You stop defending your nature and simply embody it with quiet confidence. As you integrate more of your authentic frequency, anything in your life built on compromise, pretense, or false harmony will naturally begin dissolving. Relationships, career paths, belief systems, even geographical locations, they will either evolve to match your expanding consciousness, or they will complete their cycle in your life entirely. This isn't punishment or abandonment. This is spiritual realignment in action. You're not being rejected. You're being redirected toward people, places, and purposes that can genuinely receive and appreciate the fullness of who you are. Some people will be unable to remain in your energy field as you become more integrated. Others will feel called to step up and meet you at new levels of authenticity and depth. Trust this natural process of spiritual selection. The relationships and opportunities that are meant to accompany you on your path will strengthen and deepen. Those that were only compatible with previous versions of yourself will gracefully complete their purpose. You are being realigned with your soul's original blueprint, the version of yourself that existed before the world convinced you to edit, suppress, or compromise your essential nature. This realignment process can feel lonely or unsettling at times, but it's actually preparing you for connections and experiences that truly match your vibrational frequency and spiritual purpose. There comes a pivotal moment when you stop asking, "Why am I burdened with this intensity?" and start asking, "How can I wield what I carry with sacred precision?" This represents your final initiation, the transformation from unconscious dual vibration into deliberate spiritual weaponry. Not weaponry for harm or vengeance, but for awakening dormant consciousness in yourself and others. You become simultaneously the sword that cuts through illusion and the sanctuary that offers healing refuge. You embody both the storm that clears stagnant energy and the stillness that allows new growth to emerge. But to reach this mastery, you must pass through one final fire, the complete acceptance of your own reflection. Your presence becomes intentionally catalytic. You recognize that you either activate dormant potential, lovingly agitate comfortable illusions, or awaken sleeping consciousness. There is no neutral impact. Own this reality completely. Stop trying to minimize your natural intensity or make yourself invisible in the world. When you speak, speak with conscious purpose. Your words carry vibrational codes that can unlock or trigger profound shifts in others. When you move through space, move like the force of nature you truly are, without shrinking your energy to accommodate others' insecurities. Your power evolves into something surgical rather than explosive. You learn to channel energy precisely rather than broadcasting it indiscriminately. You stop merely disrupting patterns and begin consciously redirecting them toward higher possibilities. You don't simply awaken others, you initiate them into their own forgotten power. The angelic aspect within you isn't here to rescue or save this world. The demonic aspect isn't here to destroy or condemn it. Together, they exist to reveal the world's true nature, to part the veils of collective illusion, to shatter comfortable but limiting beliefs, and to hold space for this beautiful broken planet while declaring there is still divinity present in the chaos. There is still love operating through the madness. So rise now, not as angel or demon, but as both unified. As a living paradox, a walking contradiction that somehow creates perfect sense. a sacred fire that burns away everything false while nurturing everything authentic. You are living proof that heaven and hell can coexist within one heart and transform into grace itself. The entire cosmos, both seen and unseen realms, is witnessing your journey. And they're ready for you to fully begin.